I didn't earn one.
You didn't? So
Oh,
how'd you get?
No, I swapped it for my silver braided hat with a German who was a collector of military paraphernalia. He had been in the Wehrmacht and was captured on the Russian front. Stayed in Russia after the war was over. He had to do his duty as a coal miner or something, helping the Russian economy recover. And eventually got turned back, but we just swapped a couple of items. That's how I got my Iron Cross.
Well, he
Didn't
said
earn it.
he swapped it for your hat so that you would come back sometime and visit him.
Reclaim it.
Did you ever go
the
back?
other thing was that he had a titanium plate in his head from a wound that he incurred in battle of, I don't know which one it was, Kursk probably. And he
Good
still ran
people.
around with that plate in his head.
Very good people.
Anyway, who's the young lady over there?
There's Linda.
Oh, hi, how are you?
Linda works here in the Roxbury program. So
She's
she had,
spying on you, right?
she
Yeah.
No,
yes.
I'm just writing what you're saying. I'm very interested in World War II. My father
No, just-
was
Her father served in World War II. So when I introduced the artifacts to the kids, Linda happened to be in our class observing and spying on us all. So she, when she heard that you were coming, she wanted to be here today. And so
Here
we
I
said,
am.
of course, right?
Of course. Why
Right.
not?
That's right. So you guys have some questions, but I thought we could start off with telling some stories perhaps of your West Point days and what it was like to be in a military academy and
You don't want to go there.
okay.
Okay, guys, you're all doing good then. You're behaving.
It really was not all that much of a fun time as we say these days. It's a lot of hard work.
How'd you get into flying? How'd you get into the
How
field?
to get in?
Yeah.
By a senatorial appointment. Did you say you had a Naval Academy guy in the club?
He's actually with the mock trial team right now in Waterbury. She's talking about Charlie. And
Charlie
Charlie's
Crocus?
interest- Yes.
But I applied from Cheshire as a senior. Got a third alternate appointment from the senator of Connecticut, which entitled me to take the entrance exam. Which I
That
did.
was West Point, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
which I did, and passed it. So I was qualified to go to the West Point, except I was not number 4 on the list of the Senate, principal
Yeah.
and 3 alternates. I was the 3rd, and of course I never made it. So I immediately reapplied again to another senator. Got drafted, and I was up in Fort Devens, just entering the service, when I got called out to his home in Sharon, Connecticut. So there I am, a buck private reporting to this retired admiral. But anyway, I walked out of that interview figuring that was the end of that one. Next thing I know, I'm in Camp Croft, South Carolina, learning how to be a heavy weapons infantryman. And along came this letter from Admiral Hart. Principal appointment. Already passed the entrance exam. All I do is take a physical, and then I went. So, being in the Army at the time, they took a lot of Army men all the way up to first, second lieutenants, and sent us to Amherst for 3 months of intense academics, and then 3 months to Fort Benning to take the 30-day officer candidate course and be a 30-day wonder, or 90-day wonder. But after we graduated from Benning, we were handed a discharge. No second lieutenant bars or anything, just a discharge, because we were going into West Point that summer. So that was 1946. So my association with World War II is nothing more than having grown up right in the middle of it during formative years like you guys, and then being drafted at the end of the war before the war was over. So I technically am a veteran of World War II, but I didn't do a damn thing except slog through South Carolina mud. Anybody from South Carolina? Okay, what else? What's next? West Point, what did I do at West Point?
Well, I thought they were asking about the Air Force Academy too, because it didn't exist until 1947.
Yeah.
The Air Force
I
Academy.
thought, what, West Point? Yeah.
Am I
So-
confused or?
What did I do at West Point? I, of course, went through all the courses and did fairly well in the academics, did fairly well in the military side of it. So that when I graduated, I was in the top, quintile, I guess they call it these days. Cadet lieutenant, adjutant, battalion adjutant.
So where did you serve
So
after
that
West
gave me a
Point?
good position in the service selection, where they get you in an auditorium, the whole class, and they start out with the number one man ranked in the class, and he picks his branch, and the branches are all up on a scoreboard. As he picks them, they reduce the number, and as you go down through the class, some of the branches begin to disappear. Of course, one of the branches was the Air Force. I'd had enough of the infantry, so I went into the Air Force, and that's what I wanted to do anyway. Three goals I had when I left Cheshire, 1944. One was to go to West Point. Second was to fly fighter airplanes, and the third was to lead men in combat. And I did all three of those, so it was a good career. Okay. Next question.
How long were you in? How long were you in for? How long did you serve?
30 years in the Air Force. 35 years total from the time I got drafted till I got out.
Wow,
I retired.
it's a lifetime.
Good years. Yeah, there were exceptions, but generally speaking, good years.
Well, that's,
And I've got to tell you, one of the best things that ever happened to me was running into this little doll here.
see, I was just gonna say,
marrying
well, let's
her.
ask the wife how it was, that's why I didn't say that.
Well, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was, the people were excellent people.
30 years of Cold War.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you want me to talk about? Got any questions?
What airplane did you fly?
I thought this was inquisitive.
They
question.
are, it just takes them a little while to get warmed up. Hugh was ready. Hugh,
Yeah.
maybe you should stand up for me.
What airplane did you fly?
What, airplanes?
Yeah. Airplanes.
I went to basic pilot school, was a T6. From there, apparently I did well enough, I got sent to jet fighters at Williams, which was the F-8,
Arizona.
the first Air Force jet airplane in service in this country, in the Air Force, in the United States. Of course, the Germans had the 262, the 163. But ours was the first airplane was the F-80 Shooting Star. I went through combat crew training in the F-80, went to Korea, and got sent to, as a replacement pilot to F-84 wing, which was known as Thunderjet. also known as the lead sled. Uh, The reason for the lead sled is that it grossed out at takeoff at 20,800 pounds and had 4,900 pounds of thrust, which means for every 4 pounds of weight, you only had 1 pound of thrust. Now, just leaping forward 25 years and working on the F-15, one of the criteria was that at takeoff gross weight, it had 1.12 pounds of thrust per pound of weight. It was just a complete reversal on the thrust. And I'll tell you, when I flew that Hummer, first ride, take off, pick up the gear, plug in the afterburners, rotate, 250 knots, just maintain 250 knots. At 20,000 feet, come out of afterburner, roll over, and you're looking down at the end of the runway where you just took off. In other words, you went straight up. And you were accelerating because you were burning fuel, reducing your weight. The thrust to weight ratio was getting bigger. So you're really zooming up there. But back to your question, F-84. From there I went to, flew the F-84 through my tour over there to Korea. And I went directly to Europe, flew the F-86F, the Sabre jet. Got 1,000 hours in that. And transitioned to the F-100 over in Europe. And I flew that for 1,000 hours over the course of a number of years. Then it was into the Aardvark, the F-111, McNamara's Folly. Actually, it wasn't a bad airplane, but it was no fighter. It was twin engine, two pilot and a weapon system off. And then from that, I went to, became a wing commander in the Wing had F-4s, so I flew the Phantom for my time as wing commander. Can I tell a funny, kind of a funny humorous
Yes.
story?
Yes.
This is a funny crowd, they do jokes well.
Yes.
Do you have any English?
Go on, Matt.
Englishman?
Nope.
I think so, no, you good? No?
Say that.
I'm not an Englishman. Go for it.
Merzinski, what do you think?
Two things the Englishman prizes. One is tea at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. If anything's going on at that time, it stops and you have to have tea. The other is his flowers. He loves his flowers, especially his roses. So just keep that in the back of your mind. we were the first F-111 outfit in Europe, and we're just becoming operational ready. And one of the things that we had to do was fly at night, refuel at night. So these two bright guys refueled on a tanker in a dark night, and they did whatever they had to do in a way of accomplishing it, some sort of training exercise. And returning to base, they were pretty heavy on fuel, so they decided to dump a bunch of fuel. And the place the fuel came out when you dumped fuel was between the exhaust nozzles of the two engines. So they're dumping fuel, and these guys, one turns to the other and says, I wonder what would happen if we lit the afterburners. Well, let's find out. Pow! This streak of fire went across the sky. Well, they thought they were being funny, but we had over 1,000 phone calls to the command post within an hour. UFOs. So that kind of got the whole neighborhood, the whole countryside a little bit excited about these UFOs. And before we finally got the damper put on that,